And it is that time of the week again where we just sit down, relax, enjoy some empty ice cream, and read some creepypasta stories. I'm doing this with my light on at like 8:15 p.m. because I know for a fact that, oh, hello, ice cream on my face. How are you? Shows how much of a pig I am. But anyways, I decided to do this stream at 8 p.m. because, you know, I'm home alone and I'm not about to be scared out of my panties. So, like, bear with me. This is going to be kind of a ride. I'm just going to move around my face real quick just to be sure that I'm in the right spot. And I'm not really feeling too hot, so bear with me here. I'm definitely going to be reading, okay, Instinct first, I guess. How long is this one? Whoa, down. Cool. It's a good one. Instinct. During March 2008, a group of 4 11-year-olds decided to get together and go camping in the northern woods of Florida. Only one returned. This is an account of what happened. My friends and I decided to defy our parents and go out into the forest outside our neighborhood and camp there. It was a fantastic idea at the time, but what kid wouldn't want to go? A campfire, snacks, soda, hanging out with your friends, with the added excitement of being a rebellious teenager by defying your parents. After a long walk into the privately owned woods, we experienced any first world teenager's worst nightmare: getting lost in the woods. Then we realized Sarah had brought her cell phone. Just our luck, no bars. Okay, the AC just turned on. That would creep me out. This is exactly why. Okay. Just our luck, no bars. We were lost in the Floridian wilderness, without a way to contact anyone, with only enough food to last us a couple of nights. Our situation was dire, and we all knew it. It couldn't get worse than this, right? When we finally set up camp, everyone started panicking, crying and yelling out, "Help! Help!" Thank God I brought a lighter and some gasoline. I would have been lost and cold. Lost and warm was better than lost and cold. After collecting firewood and making a stone fireplace, we set the wood ablaze. It was a flame of hope, a chance of survival, a speck of light in a black, foggy world. Alyssa and Tommy decided to go to bed. Me and Sarah stayed out by the fire. I could see it in her eyes. She knew she was going to die. I didn't want to accept it, but I knew I was going to die also. Thoughts were rushing it through my head again. Will I live? Am I going to die? Will I ever get to see my parents again? What will my little sister do without me? It was hard to fight back tears. Sarah opened her mouth and quietly whispered, "Kenny, do you think we're going to die out here?" I didn't want to say yes, but it was the truth. I don't think we're going to make it back to our home alive, I said, in a soft, agonized tone. We climbed into the tent with Alyssa and Tommy and went to bed. The next morning, I woke to screaming. I scrambled out of my sleeping bag so fast that if you looked, you would see only a blur. As I came out, I saw Sarah's mauled and bloody, paralyzed body where the dying coals of last night's fire laid. Her phone was lying beside her with the recording app on. I picked up the phone because she had taken a photo of our campsite I was curious about. Upon closer inspection, I could see something disturbing in the photo. I didn't know what it was and still don't. From what I could make of the photo, it looked like it was around 5.5 feet tall. It was so skinny that it brought new meaning to just skin and bones. Part of its spinal cord extended around 6 inches out of its back, and the skin stretched so much it looked like it was about to rip. Its entire appearance was like something out of a nightmare. Something that would make a grown man pee in his pants. I picked up her body in tears. Someone that I had known for 7 years was gone. Dead. She no longer existed. Only her corpse remained. Tommy said, "What are you going to do with her body? We can't just leave it here." We decided to dig her a grave. We placed a log on top of it so she won't be disturbed. Confused on what to do, We decided to go back to camp and await our inevitable deaths. As night came, the only thing I could think about was when I saw the thing I saw on Sarah's phone. It was an instinct. Alyssa and Tommy were also disturbed. We stayed outside until morning came. After waiting for hours and hours, I started to become delirious. I was seeing my life flash before my eyes. My lips became dry. No matter how much water I drank, I became... God, that's not fucking funny. So weak that getting up and getting something to drink was a challenge. 2 hours later, I heard something. I dismissed it until it happened again. 30 seconds later, a shrill howl came from the undergrowth. A line of bushes rustled as we panicked. I heard the howl again. I saw a pork brown humanoid figure move past the bushes to my left. My heart pounding while Alyssa was crying and Tommy was paralyzed from the shock of another howl. 1 second later, it burst out of the bushes with its primal yell and grabbed Tommy. I grabbed its tongue and ripped out its mouth. Alyssa screamed while Tommy tried to, but was covered by the blood pooling in his mouth. The creature took a chunk of meat out of his head, causing Tommy to die. Alyssa, in a final attempt to protect herself, ran over to me. The creature came over screaming, and I grabbed Alyssa and said, "Take her, not me!" He started devouring Alyssa while I ran. I ran and ran and ran until I was certain I was miles away. After walking for miles, I found a road again. A kind old man picked me up and gave me some water and food, and took me back home. My parents were shocked to hear my story, and so was the police, and Tommy, Alyssa, and Sarah's parents. I regret that I didn't get a photo of it. Today I still have nightmares about it, and I never want to think about it again. Yeesh. Alright. That is the end of Instinct. Alright. How about we read A Small Girl's Tale? Oh, wow. This is going to be a long one, guys. Cool. Alright. It was a warm summer's night where there was no wind blowing, though it was just the correct temperature to be outside and go to the park. The full moon's rays was focused on the small town of Sebastopol, and a couple were in the hospital. This was the most interesting thing that has happened there for a while now. Jake and Samantha were in the hospital, the creators of something interesting in that little town. Samantha was giving birth to a baby girl, their first and supposed last child. It was a beautiful moment after the screams of pain when Zabina was born. Zabina is Greek for one who is gifted. The couple held and snuggled their newborn lovingly, though that didn't last. Samantha fell ill from the loss of blood, so she stayed in the hospital while Jake took care of the baby. Every few moments, the neighbors and people came over to see Sabina. It wasn't peaches and cream for Jake, though. Sabina wanted to see the woman she had seen again. Samantha. It was 5 days later when Samantha finally got out of the hospital and returned home to help take care of Zabina. It was peaceful and quiet when Jake went to work and Samantha stayed home to take care of her child. This went on until Sabina's first birthday. Her birthday was exciting. All the neighbors' children came over and they had such a blast. There was a tea party, a clown, and a mime, face painting and other activities. Samantha and Jake were talking to a few other adults. Thinking Sabina was playing with her friends, though she was with another grown-up. He was a single father of a little boy. His name was Tyler. Tyler wasn't the best of people, since he had a bad past of jail records and other things. Tyler had taken Zabina into a dark place and did terrible things. Zabina ran screaming and crying to her parents right as Tyler grabbed his son and left. Zabina told her parents all about it, and they dismissed it as just a scary daydream. Assholes. When the party was over, Zabina did the best she could to take her mind off it and help take down the decorations. Hours later, when Zabina was asleep, she tossed and turned, crying in her sleep, having nightmares about the other day. When Zabina woke up, she woke up to her parents laughing and making breakfast. Her mother looked to Zabina, helping her into her chair as she spoke in a soft voice. "Would you like something to eat, sweetie?" Zabina rubbed her eyes. As she yawned, still waking up, she nodded. So Samantha walked back to the stove, cooking Zabina a smiley-face pancake and put sugar on it before serving the pancake to Zabina. Zabina picked up her Hello Kitty fork and nibbled on small bites. Her parents were speaking to each other, trading news as Jake shuffled through the mail. When Zabina finished her food, she pushed the plate forward. Samantha and Jake looked to their daughter. When Jake spoke in a voice you'd think he'd have. "Zabina, sweetie, you're going to have a babysitter when Mommy and Daddy are working." Zabina tilted her head, blinking as they brought a picture of the female that was going to take care of her. She was wearing a hat, a plain black long-sleeved shirt, and black skinny jeans. She didn't have any shoes on at all, her pale skin in war with her piercing green eyes as her red lips seemed to be stained with a smile. Oh god, this chick sounds like me. Zabina hopped around, cheering that she liked this girl. "Maddie, tell me a story?" Zabina asked in a high, tired voice. Madison nodded and began telling a tale of a dog who lost its way. Soon after, Zabina drifted off to sleep and continued to smile, not having any more nightmares. Madison soon drifted off to sleep after, when she was woken up by Samantha and Jake returning home and thanking Madison, giving her $20. Madison smiled and disappeared into the night as she walked to her own home. This continued until Zabina's 4th birthday. When she went to kindergarten, everyone made fun of her and teased her, not because of anything reasonable, but because she was the most beautiful girl there. Her hair was shiny and brown, and her skin was the fairest of peach. Her brown eyes gazed off into random spots as her pale lips hummed. Zabina took the bus every day and was greeted by Madison, giving her a hug and a lollipop. Zabina always cried into Madison, this making her comfortable. Zabina's parents returned early today, and Madison was worried that when she walked off back to her home. Zabina's parents explained how they were moving to another place. After they moved, Zabina made more friends and was the most popular girl there. Too popular. Some kids started beating her at school, though no one was home to greet her anymore. Zabina cried into her pillow, which contained that picture of Madison she got 4 years ago. But Madison had turned 16 now. Zabina smiled, thinking of her, and waited for her parents to come home. She stayed up until midnight, when there was a call. She ran downstairs, picking up the phone. It was a man, not her father. "Sweetie, this is the police station. We're having someone pick you up and give you the bad news," the operator said. "Pack up some of your things." Zabina slammed the phone on the base and curled up crying. She sniffled, pulling herself together, and ran upstairs, packing up a suitcase. She sat on her bed telling herself the story of the lost puppy, though her voice was choppy in the sobs and sniffles. Then there was a knock at the door. Zabina grabbed her suitcase, opening the door to a policewoman. She grabbed her suitcase and picked her up, putting her in the car, strapping her in. Zabina tried not to cry the best she can, and the policewoman explained the tragic accident of her parents being killed, though they didn't know much about it. Excuse me. A week after Zabina was put in an adoption home, she was adopted by a father and a mother. Their names were Tom and Lucy. They seemed nice until a month in. Lucy ignored Zabina, and Tom told Zabina to take her clothes off and pose. He did terrible things to her. This lasted until Zabina was 7, when she was put back in the adoption home and was adopted by wonderful people. Even months in, they were still nice. She had a brother and sister who were nice to her too. One day her brother and sister killed themselves, and her parents cried and cried and were put in a mental hospital. She was put back up for adoption and was adopted by a nice couple with a mean brother. A few months, her parents were fighting and they split up. She was sad for so long, until she was 9 and walking home from school. She saw Madison. She was so grown up. She was 20, though still looked the same. Zabina ran to Madison, hugging her tightly, dropping her backpack along the way. Madison hugged back tightly, tears streaming down her face. Hey, kiddo, how are you? Madison asked, looking down at her. Though Zabina didn't respond, she only shook her head, crying. Madison picked her up in her arms, rocking her. Shh, it's all right, Madison cooed in a soothing voice that made Zabina's tears stop. Madison put Zabina down and set her off home with a lollipop. The next day, Zabina was walking to school. It was sunny and bright when a man came running at her with a machete in his hand. Madison jumped out just before the man reached her. The machete went through Madison's stomach, out her back. Zabina let out a scream of terror and dropped her backpack, almost frozen though she screamed out Madison's name. The man sliced up Madison's ribs and took the machete, running away. Madison collapsed to her knees, then to her side, blood leaking from the side of her mouth as she looked at Zabina. She had a whispery voice as she spoke to the child. Live on, Zabina. Always look on the bright side. Find the puppy. Madison's breathing slowed to a numbness. Slowed as a numbness spread from her stomach all the way to the tips of her fingertips. It was eternal bliss, though the sight of Zabina on her knees, crying, was heartbreaking. Madison simply continued to smile and shut her eyes. Going to sleep forever. Zabina screamed out and ran at the man and tried catching up to him, though he was quicker and got away. Zabina decided to run away. So she did, and found herself sleeping in an abandoned warehouse. She went to school the next day, being beaten down and broken down because she didn't go to school the other day. Zabina ran into the bathroom, crying on the floor. She tried wiping her tears away before anyone could find her and ran away in the middle of school. She tripped and fell, laying on the ground as she gathered a crowd, all of them mumbling swears and yelling at her. Get off the ground, you dopey kid, one of the women called. Though she continued laying there, and something snapped. It was her sanity. She got up and screamed. She ran away then, sliding to stop as she saw a cutlery store. She ran in, taking a butcher knife, and ran out. She ran away as far as she could. Then she was stopped by a man, the one who killed Madison. He smirked down on her, though before he could do anything. Zabina stabbed the knife into his side, slicing across, his entrails sliding out as blood stained her clothes. She laughed as she fell. She stomped on his face, having his nose broken. She walked off and was stopped by the police car surrounding her, their guns aimed at her. Fear struck when she stared at them, tears filling her eyes. As she rose the knife, the cops, thinking it was a threat, they pulled the triggers. Bullets flying in and out of her body as she fell to her back. Her body lay still and lifeless. The heat from her very skin disappeared as the sparkle from her brown hues disappeared. Her life flashed right before her eyes. As she was glad to die now, she could be with Madison, her mother, and her father. Oh, that wasn't even scary. That was just sad. God damn it, CREEPYPASTA. Alright. Let's Lolita, my angel. There is so much chocolate in this. Look at that. Sorry. Dang it. The honey's getting sticky now. I have honey in my hair to help lighten it a little bit. It's actually working. It's pretty cool. Alright. So, my dear Lolita. Okay. Lolita, my angel. That's the title of this one. Lolita, my dear Lolita, at last you are safe. When you were born, your mother and I wept. Not because we didn't want you. Oh, we never had a thought akin to that. We sobbed for hours, and what might have appeared to have been joy to others was a deep pain in our hearts. For you, my angel. My Lolita, when you tried to breathe for the first time, we knew that there was nothing we could do. We knew that it had already begun and that there was not a single thing that we can do to prevent it. So we tried to stop your breathing. We didn't want you inhaling the filth of this world. We knew that you wouldn't understand, but it was for your own good. But you wouldn't stop breathing. No matter how intensely we smothered you, no matter what we used to try to break those little lungs of yours, you wouldn't allow it. Defiant from the first, you wouldn't allow us to save you, to free you from this world. You wanted to go on living, to be alive in this despicable place. And we allowed that. What we had done. You grew into a lovely little girl. My lovely little girl. My angel. We had to keep you inside for your own good. We had to teach you about the world and how everything was out to get you. And you took that to heart. You knew this was true. One time, I remember it fondly, you actually tried to open the blinds. Before that tainted light could hit you, we made sure that they didn't open. It was better in the dark. You had to understand that our happy home was the only safe place. With us, with your thoughts, your loving parents and your rebellious thoughts. One day, you were 8 years old, you crawled up to me and pulled on my pant leg. You asked me why we weren't allowed to go to school. In that gurgly, high-pitched voice of yours, and I just laughed. Because, my angel, the world is a dangerous place. You must stay here and be safe with me and Mommy forever. You wouldn't take that as an answer. You went and asked your mother, you little bug. And she had the nerve to come up to me and complain about the life I had given her. She said that she wanted to see the sun again, and I told her that the sun was reserved for those awful things outside. For those monsters. She told me that she might want to be one of those monsters, and I just looked at her. Women, I cried, always so defiant. She couldn't take no for an answer. Neither could you. Oh, you two were plotting something against me. I knew that you, my little thing, were the essence of what I hated in this world. That you had caused this change in her. The minute you came along with your defiance, things would change. I hated change. Your mother didn't love you. She didn't love me. She didn't love herself. She wanted to ruin herself, just like you did. You said that you wanted to live and experience life. Was the outside really so bad, you both asked? Neither of you knew. Neither of you knew what was out there. I had to protect you from yourselves. I dashed into the garage to find something. Something I could use to help you. I found a pair of old hedge clippers, rusted and mangled from lack of use. I had to save you two from yourselves. Your mother was still screaming at me, still crying out what I had done for you both. She didn't understand anymore. You had made sure of that. I plunged those instruments of retribution straight into her eye sockets, and oh, she did scream. But it was a purging scream, the evil flowing out through it. It was a start. I opened and shut the giant pair of scissors again and again and again within her sockets, as her hands and her feet flailed from purifying pain, as her sockets widened and her nose cleaved in two, as her eyeballs were scrambled within her skull. I thought she might finally be able to see what I was trying to tell her. But she just lay there. Her face was so mangled, so horrendously mutated. But her body was pristine. Too bad it was only a husk. I thought again of when you were born, about our mission to save you, how we had failed. You were obstinate. You didn't want to be saved, but I knew why. And I realized why you had survived the purifying. Every time. Every single time we tried to save you from this world, your mother was the one doing the procedure. She must have been going easy on you. She must have held that pillow a little too loosely. Must have held you in the scalding bathtub too short of a time. Must have driven those nails just short of your little brain. But there is no mother now, Lolita. There's only you and I. And soon there will be just I. You weren't strong enough to live in this world. In this cruel world. You were too small and trusting to protect yourself. I held my clippers fast and you stood your ground. You looked me right in the eyes. Looked at me with that look you always gave me. Defiant to the very last, Lolita. But now you can't give me that look any longer. Now you're purified. Just like Mommy. One day, filthy men from the outside will come to take me. They burst through the door and called for me. They had to be purified as well. I tried to get the hedge clippers, but the men were too strong. They came to take me away, to take me into the light, to take me into the filth. They said that I get one call. I wanted nothing more than to talk to you, to see the fruits of my struggle. But hell hath no number, and the dead tell no tales. It's the living we have to worry about. We can do some horrendous things. That one was a good one. I liked that one. Don't know about you guys. Alright. Ah, go away, advertisement! Alright. What's SCP? Oh, is it like the video game? Wow. Wow, that is a lot of stories, guys. This is going to be a very long series. Alright. How about the dare? It was a dare for the record books. Anyone who took it was labeled clinically insane by their friends and would have to be carted away to an insane asylum. But if anyone was insane that day, it was Thomas Schwartz, known as Tommy to his friends. He not only volunteered to do it, but he was going to do it alone. Standing in the driveway of the Nazarian house, he stands confident. His eyes shift from window to door, seeking out weaknesses. If he was scared, he didn't show it. Ignoring the cheers of his accomplices, he advanced towards his opponent. The sounds of a lawnmower hitch ride with the breeze, engulfing the children as they hold position. The driveway found itself losing a war with its grass, and the boundary where they separated became unclear. Tommy didn't notice this. His mind was focused upon his goal and what lay ahead. Cecidus argued with each other while the birds sang in the aria of summer, but all of this was lost on Thomas as the wood steps underneath his feet moaned with the effort from supporting him. With the doorbell non-functioning and no welcome mat to accommodate him, Tommy pried open the screen door, who also had some complaining to do, and reached for the brass knob. As his thumb began pushing down the lever, time held its breath in anticipation. His friends had long ceased their cheers, and merely stood where it was safe, letting the sun extract sweat from their pores. Even the birds and the Sadius had paused in their conversation to study him. The door wailed as it allowed him entry, and again when the house had engulfed him. With the door in between his friends and him, the fear crept to his face. The path to being a schoolyard legend certainly isn't the easiest. Nothing had shambled into the sight of clanky chains, though that didn't alleviate Thomas's fears. His goal resided on the second day, and the faster he made it there, the less likely he would end up killed by the horrors unknown. With every fiber of his being, Thomas advanced through the house. The echo of his football seemed to resonate through the entire house as they collided with the carpet, which had cushioned the heads of 3 families that lived there. Upon passing the foyer, the white-sheeted figures assaulted his vision, making him leap. However, the furniture did not attack. Perhaps not hungry for small children, as his heart safely descended from his throat. Thomas had reinforced his nerves and began walking again. The stairs curved at a sharp turn near the middle. A small groan issued from Thomas as a nightmarish scenarios played out in his mind. The fact that this particular staircase was used as a bowling alley for several heads didn't exactly appeal to him either. No ghost can compare to the taunts and teases of his fellow colleagues, however. So the staircase was only a minor nuisance. With each step, Thomas's muscles tightened further, trying in vain to prevent the inevitable. His eyes forced his head to turn around the corner, his bowels bracing for release. Nothing came at him. Nothing upon entering, and nothing upon nothing erupted from the hallway. And nothing disemboweled him and gouged his eyes out with an extraordinary non-existence. Ignoring the ball of snakes squirming in his bowels, Thomas approached the far door on the right, the final destination. Thomas couldn't decide whether or not the doors in the hallway were being closed, were a blessing or a curse. Shifting horrors may lurk in the folds of the unknown. But since they didn't attack, he didn't bother himself with spooking himself. The goal was too close for him, in sight for him to chicken out. Thomas stretched his hand out to the knob of the final room, and as he did so, the knob shrank from it. Yet the door yielded him, and he entered the room. The accursed painting was on the far wall, as if expecting him, beckoning him closer to itself, as it had done to so many others. The painting didn't seem like it would be one that would devour the sanity of so many innocents. In fact, it seemed rather innocent itself. No pentagrams or monsters of any kind. The moon's one winking eye felt playful to Thomas, and the row of neat houses made him yearn for his own. No spade clawed hand bored into his flesh. No clanking chains found their way into his soul. Thomas even forgot what was supposed to frighten him in the house. As he turned to go, he stole one final look back at the painting and smiled. He was ready to rejoin his friends outside. Thomas Schwartz was never found. The children that had urged him to do it wanted with all the patience they could muster as the light deepened to orange over the horizon. Eventually, each found their own paths to their houses and mothers, while Thomas's began to worry. None of them talked about what had occurred. Not between themselves, and not the police when they interrogated them. When the house was demolished a year later, there was no painting depicting a winking moon amongst the rubble. Oh, wow. So I'm guessing what happened is that when Thomas looked at the painting sucked him into another dimension, and that's why he disappeared. That's kind of cool. Alrighty, I'm going to have to cut the live stream short here because, one, my parents are coming home soon, and two, I have a lot of work to do on my YouTube channel. So leave a like and favorite if you want, and subscribe. Suggest to me any creepypastas, like all the ones that I have read are marked here, so if I haven't read it yet, please let me know, and I will happily accommodate for you. And on that note, thank you all so much for watching this short little creepypasta stream. I hope that it relaxed you in some way, and I hope that you enjoyed my reading, and I would be so happy to see you next stream. So toodaloo! Have a good one, you guys, and try to get some sleep after this. Ba-near, ba-near.